Ever since her debut in 1996, Lara Croft has taken players on adventures across the world through ancient civilizations in search of hidden treasures. The series has seen its fair share of ups and downs, different developers, and a couple of reboots. But one particular game in the series has always stood out to me, and that game is 2008's Tomb Raider Underworld, the third and final entry in Tomb Raider's first reboot by Crystal Dynamics. Underworld continues the narrative introduced in Legend and Anniversary, and with this being the third act of the trilogy, the stakes are raised and risks are taken. Underworld saw Crystal Dynamics come into their own with the Tomb Raider series. Legend modernized Tomb Raider from Lara's design to the gameplay, dropping tank controls altogether. Anniversary built upon this with a reimagining of the original game. But with Underworld, they were free from the shackles of the past games developed by Core Design and the Angelina Jolie films. They had proven they were capable of handling the Tomb Raider IP. Underworld was all about asking the question of what could Lara do? And when it comes to this game, it's all about the little details, the beauty of the environments, the complexity of the puzzles, how Lara's moveset works within these environments. Underworld is what being a Tomb Raider is all about. This game truly made you feel like Lara Croft. While it isn't a perfect game, when it comes to Tomb Raider Underworld, it's dripping in ambition. And it all starts with the explosion of Croft Manor. Ever since Tomb Raider hit the scene, Croft Manor has appeared in almost every single game. It's always served as a sort of tutorial, a place to explore and uncover all of its secrets, a place of comfort for many. Then, all of a sudden, this iconic residence is no more. Right from that scene, Tomb Raider Underworld meant business. Nothing is safe, everything is off limits, and you know to expect the unexpected. When it comes to Tomb Raider, there has always been something about the darker toned Tomb Raider games in the series. These are the games I personally find to be most memorable. They have the most interesting stories, the most iconic scenes, they have some incredible environments to explore, and the best versions of Lara. Yet each one is flawed in its own way. Whether that be the story or gameplay, there are bugs and glitches present, but each one stands out because of the risks they take, their potential. There has been something about each that has failed somewhere in development, yet you can see the ambition of what could have been. Underworld is like the best of the two previous games that came before it. In Tomb Raider Legend, there was a brighter atmosphere to the game. Everything was lively, there was a lot of witty banter. Lara had constant communication to her colleagues at home. Then you get to Tomb Raider Anniversary. It's all about isolation and very few human interactions. It's Lara by herself against the unknown. With Underworld, Lara can pretty much do anything and environments turn into one giant playground. The developers answer that question of what could Lara do, and it's one of the best bits of Underworld. If she can swing on a pole, why not perch up onto it or walk on it like a balance beam? She can wall jump to greater heights, climb and stand on columns. One of my favorite new additions were these free climbing segments. It's like being on a rock climbing wall. I don't know why, but it's always excited me to climb on them. Highlight ledges are not just climbable, but now Lara can stand on them and shimmy or jump to greater heights. Even something pointless like picking up a pole and hitting an enemy is a nice detail. And Lara's actions or reactions to the environment add to this. She'll shield herself from fire. If she's in rainy or icy conditions, the ledge she climbs might cause her to lose her grip. Another of my favorites is when running through vegetation. Not only do the plants move, but Lara will push them out of the way. Dirt and grime cover her skin, but a dip in water will wash her clean. And these details make Lara feel one with her environment. These are the reasons why Underworld's version of Lara Croft feels like it's the best version out there. From her demeanor and attitude to her look, Underworld's outfit adds realism in its textures like the mesh of her shirt, the front strap of her backpack, and the weight of her boots. There's realism and believability in her presentation, yet most importantly, she still feels like a character. She's not trying to be a completely real, photorealistic person. When you look at Underworld, it has a lot of elements from the Core Design classics with the return of larger open levels allowing for greater exploration. There's little to no hand-holding in the game telling you directly what to do. Whether that's venturing out for pieces of a puzzle or figuring out where to go next, there are times you just need to take a moment to pause and think. Before heading out to each destination, you need to prepare yourself. You have a choice between the outfit you want Lara to wear, and then you also get to decide on a secondary weapon you want to bring. This ranges from something like an assault rifle and shotgun to something a bit more humane such as the tranquilizer. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what weapon you choose. The environments in Underworld are highly diverse. After an explosive beginning, the game throws the player into a water level, something many players frown upon in general, but with Underworld it actually does water levels pretty decently. And it isn't like you're in the water forever. There's a build up from the exploration of these underwater ruins to the reveal of this whole tomb. Then the level ends with Lara aboard a giant ship, infiltrating it to get back something that was stolen. And then bam, the ship starts to sink. And it's one of Underworld's best scenes as Lara has to climb her way out as the ship falls apart from the inside. Thanks to the power of next gen, we're able to have one of the best levels ever created. Thailand is everything that captures that Tomb Raider magic. From climbing cliff sides, the level slowly starts to open up more and more the further Lara travels. Then suddenly we get to this giant statue that's actually the passage to where we need to go. The scope and scale of this level is only the beginning of what's to come. The lush greenery, the sounds of the wildlife, the traversal, Thailand is one of the most beautiful levels in the game. After the events of Croft Manor, from southern Mexico onward, the game's environments become darker, colder even, the color choices and weather speaking to the emotions of the story. The heavy rain of southern Mexico adds to the depression of the events that happen at Croft Manor. Lara is pissed off, vengeful. This level is probably the second best of the game. There are many branching paths to explore, leading to an underground tomb full of trap rooms that will test Lara's abilities. And none of it would be possible without Underworld's newest addition, the all-terrain bike. Unlike the motorcycle levels in Legend that quickly grew stale and repetitive, Lara can freely hop on and off of the bike. It's used in puzzles, she can mow down enemies, and it gives players further exploration and freedom. If you thought Thailand was incredible, Jan Mayen Island has some of the biggest, most jaw-dropping moments. From this huge pillar Lara has to climb to get the doors of the tomb open, to later having these giant hammers swinging. Lara has to jump on them to travel from room to room, navigating through this giant labyrinth to get the ultimate prize, Thor's hammer. And once this happens, no one stands a chance. By that point, guns are useless, enemies go flying into the air, thralls are smashed into smithereens, you feel almighty and powerful. Another thing to note about Underworld are the lack of any boss battles. The Kraken is one of the biggest enemies to appear in Tomb Raider, but Lara never truly fights it, only avoids its attacks and disposes of the creature because it's in her path. And the same goes for the final level. While Lara and Natla had a lengthy battle in Anniversary, in Underworld, Lara simply needs to avoid Natla's fireballs. Personally, I don't mind the lack of boss battles. While I do wish we had that big battle against Natla, I like how the game further promotes exploration and platforming. All that being said, Underworld isn't without flaws, one of the biggest ones being that of the DLC. If you're an Xbox player, you have access to two new narrative chapters, Beneath the Ashes and Lara's Shadow, which feature a new playable character. Plus there were a handful of new outfits for download. But if you're a PlayStation or PC player, none of this DLC was ever available, and that's a huge thing to miss out on. Beneath the Ashes and Lara's Shadow aren't simply two throwaway stories, they literally continue and complete the overall narrative in Underworld. On top of that, there's no level replayability as there were in Legend and Anniversary. Yes, you can go back into each level in a treasure hunt mode to collect any missing treasures and relics, but that's about it. Overall, Underworld is kind of lacking on extra content. There are a ton of concept artwork to unlock, but no unlockable outfits, no kind of commentary, no in-game models to look at, and no way to view the cinematics. A complete downgrade from Legend and Anniversary. There is, however, a quick recap of the previous two games, so if for some reason you never played them, it's a great refresher. Gameplay-wise, one major frustrating issue the game has is the camera. It's always most apparent when climbing or going to tight spaces. The camera wants to change positions, and when you're trying to line yourself up for a jump, it can cause many deaths. Often, it's a constant battle. QuickTime events were present in Legend and Anniversary, but were quickly going out of style. So these were replaced with slowed down cinematic events that happened in-game. Sometimes they worked, and other times not so much. Some were easy to figure out what to do, and then others were a bit trickier, and could easily contribute to Lara's death. But if you're like me and have played the game hundreds of times, you know how this works. But for a beginner, they aren't so friendly. And then gunplay doesn't feel as satisfying as it did before. Guns don't feel powerful. Naturally, her dual pistols will be the weakest, but they never feel as tight and impactful. Often I wish Underworld had that adrenaline mechanic from Anniversary. That was something people either liked or hated. But with Underworld having lock-on aiming, it would have added some much needed variety. You had to be aware of enemies coming into this kind of rage mode, and dodge out of the way to get the kill. Motion capture was first introduced for the series with this game. While it makes Lara's moves believable, it also looks janky at times. Like when Lara aims at an enemy when climbing, she practically aims all over the place in quick succession. Sometimes going downstairs, there's a bit of a stutter in her movement. Really, Underworld just needed a bit more development time to polish everything up. But here you have Eidos doing the same mistake they did back in the 90s, having a yearly Tomb Raider release. This schedule almost ruined core design so much that they almost killed Lara Croft off. From 2006 to 2008, you had Legend, Anniversary, and Underworld. Development teams were split up, there's time crunch to attend to, plus with Tomb Raider Underworld, it was the first true game for the next generation of consoles. So with new systems to develop for, there's more to learn, and with that more frustration. Yet somehow the developers made it through. But even with these issues, the level of creativity and ambition Underworld holds makes it easy, at least for me, to overlook these issues. It's like when you can see the potential or the idea the developers had, you almost gain a greater appreciation for how it is. Tomb Raider Underworld has always been one of my favorite games in the series. It was the first Tomb Raider game I was able to purchase brand new on launch after becoming a fan. The story is incredible, and the surprises from Lara's new doppelganger to the return of her longtime nemesis Natla and the explosion of Croft Manor are everything. The environments are stunning, Lara has a huge variety in abilities, and then the soundtrack is just perfection. Plus Keely Hawes voicing Lara Croft has to be one of my favorites. Unfortunately, Underworld would underperform financially, and Crystal Dynamics rebooted the series in 2013. But I have always wished they continued after Underworld. Everything introduced in Underworld made you feel like Lara Croft. There was so much potential to be expanded on and improved upon, and you did see that in later titles, but they were never on the same level of ambitiousness. Really, Underworld is the blueprint future Tomb Raider games should be inspired by. Let me know in the comments below, is this your all-time favorite Tomb Raider game? If not, which in the series is? Be sure to like and subscribe for future videos, and if you want more Tomb Raider action, check out my review of the Tomb Raider Reloaded mobile game. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.